The afternoon sun streamed softly through the wide glass windows of a busy clothing store. The air was filled with laughter, chatter, and the sound of hangers sliding across metal racks. It seemed like just another ordinary day, until a sudden commotion broke out near the checkout counter. In the corner sat a young, fragile-looking girl in a wheelchair. Her hands trembled and her blue eyes shimmered with tears. Standing over her was the store manager, his face red with anger, holding a small necklace tightly in his hand. The girl tried to speak, her voice weak and shaky, but her words were lost in the noise of people whispering and recording with their phones. Everyone wanted a viral clip. No one wanted to understand what was really happening. Then, from the crowd, one man stepped forward. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread, because sometimes it only takes one act of courage to change a life. His name was David Miller, a single father in his mid-30s. Dressed in a worn leather jacket and jeans, David had come to the store that day with his 10-year-old son Ethan to buy him a new pair of sneakers as a reward for doing well in school. Life hadn't been easy for David. He worked long hours as a delivery driver, trying to balance bills, school, and bedtime stories, doing everything he could to make Ethan's childhood happy, even when life wasn't. As David turned to pay for the shoes, he noticed the crowd gathering. He saw the young disabled girl being accused of stealing a necklace, something clearly worth more than she could afford. The girl's voice cracked as she pleaded, "Please, I didn't take it." She explained that she couldn't even reach the display shelf from her wheelchair, but the manager only grew louder, talking about store rules and calling security. David's heart pounded. He couldn't just watch. He'd seen unfairness before, and he refused to let it happen again. Without a second thought, David stepped between the manager and the crying girl. The room went silent. His voice was calm but firm as he told the manager to stop shouting and reminded him that accusing someone, especially a young, disabled girl on a without proof, was both cruel and humiliating. The manager snapped back, pointing at the necklace. He claimed it had fallen from under her blanket. But David noticed something the others didn't. The price tag was still attached, and the security seal was unbroken. It wasn't stolen at all. It had simply dropped from a nearby counter. David picked up the necklace and placed it back on the glass display. "This was never hers," he said quietly, his voice steady but kind. The girl looked up at him, her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. The crowd began to shift. People lowered their phones. A few muttered apologies, and the manager looked embarrassed. David stood his ground. He spoke softly but clearly, saying, "She's already fighting battles we can't imagine. Don't make her fight for her dignity too." Those words seemed to hang in the air. The manager finally mumbled something about misunderstanding and walked away. The girl introduced herself as Lily. She explained she had come to the store to buy a small gift for a nurse's birthday, something simple, bought with her saved-up allowance. But when the necklace slipped from the counter, everyone assumed she had tried to steal it. Her face was pale, her hands still shaking, but her eyes held a quiet strength that touched David deeply. He smiled gently and said, "Don't worry about it." Then, without hesitation, he paid for the necklace himself and handed it to her. "Now you can give it as a gift, just like you planned," he said warmly. Tears rolled down Lily's cheeks as she held the little box close to her heart. And for a brief moment in that noisy store, kindness became louder than judgment. Ethan watched everything quietly. He had always thought his dad was strong, but that day he saw something even greater. True courage mixed with compassion. He learned that real strength isn't about fighting. It's about standing up when no one else will. When they left the store, Lily thanked David again. He helped her into a taxi, making sure she was safely on her way. He didn't know who she really was, where she came from, or how her life had brought her there. He just knew he'd done what was right. But David had no idea how that one small moment of kindness would soon change his life. The next morning, David woke to the constant buzz of his phone. His social media accounts were flooded with messages and notifications. Someone from the store had recorded the entire incident, and overnight it had gone viral. Millions of people across the world were praising the single dad who had stood up for a disabled girl. News stations wanted interviews. Newspapers wanted his story. But David didn't care about fame. He just wanted to get back to work and take care of Ethan. That evening, as he got ready for his delivery shift, a sleek black car pulled up outside his small apartment. A man in a dark suit stepped out holding a briefcase. He introduced himself as Mr. Reynolds, the personal assistant to a wealthy businessman named Richard Campbell. David was puzzled until Mr. Reynolds handed him a cream-colored envelope with golden edges. Inside was a letter that read, "Dear Mr. Miller, you defended my daughter when she needed someone most. You saw her as a person when others only saw her disability. For that I will always be grateful." Richard Campbell, David's heart skipped a beat. "His daughter?" he murmured. Mr. Reynolds smiled gently. "Yes," he said. "Lily is Mr. Campbell's daughter." He explained that Lily's father, one of the city's most successful entrepreneurs, had seen the viral video while he was away on business. Deeply moved by David's kindness, he wanted to meet him in person. A few days later, David and Ethan were invited to the Campbell family mansion. It was unlike anything David had ever seen: tall marble pillars, sparkling chandeliers, and beautiful gardens that stretched for acres. But what caught his attention most wasn't the luxury. It was the warmth in Lily's eyes when she saw him again. She rolled her wheelchair toward him and smiled. "I told my dad about you," she said softly. "You reminded me that good people still exist." Mr. Campbell personally thanked David and offered him a financial reward, but David politely refused. "I didn't do it for money," he said. "I just couldn't stand by and watch someone be treated unfairly." Mr. Campbell nodded, deeply impressed by his sincerity. Still, he insisted on helping him in another way. Within weeks, David received a stable job offer at one of Campbell's logistics companies, with better pay, shorter hours, and full benefits. It meant more time with Ethan, a better home, and finally a bit of peace after years of struggling. Lily often visited them, bringing laughter and light wherever she went. She and Ethan became good friends, and every time she came over she would smile and say, "Not all heroes wear capes. Some just wear leather jackets and carry hearts big enough to heal others." Months passed, but that single afternoon in the store remained unforgettable. It wasn't about fame or money. It was about a truth David had always believed. Kindness costs nothing, but its impact can last forever. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Let's fill this world with more compassion, one story at a time. Before the day ended, David stood on his small balcony, watching Ethan and Lily play in the yard below. A soft smile crossed his face. He realized his life hadn't changed because of luck or fame. It changed because he chose to do the right thing when it mattered most. Sometimes, all it takes is one small act of courage to remind the world that kindness still exists. And when you give it freely, it always finds its way back to you.